G'day guys, welcome to another edition of Fly Fishing in Nature's Realm. Now we'll be tying a fly again because we are still in lockdown. We got the news yesterday that we'll be out of lockdown this coming Thursday. But the only problem is for us fly fishermen that live in Melbourne, we can't go fly fishing because we can't enter country Victoria regions, and so that stops us from going fishing. I don't know about you guys, but it's driving me mad. You know, what is this, 3 months? It's just crazy. You know, will I ever go fly fishing again? I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to tie a fly. Now the fly that we're going to tie today is a woolly bugger. It's no new fly. Woolly buggers have been around for a really long time, and there's just so many different variations of woolly buggers, it's not funny. Now this variation I love. Alright, now I don't know who developed this variation, I don't know who designed it, but all I know is that this variation is a ripper. Now it has in its construction, the tail has a green marabou that really sparkles with the olive green marabou feathers which really pulsate in the water. It has a body of a dubbing material called diamond bright in a dark olive, and that's a fantastic material. We have the olive green body hackle, and at the front we have a bead that's a fluoro orange, and this bead probably is one of the great attractions of this fly, with the other parts of it as well being attractive to the trout and so forth. So this fly has worked for me really well, catching a lot of trout, mainly in lakes. I've tried it in rivers, but it just doesn't seem to work as well. But then again, I probably haven't fished it as much as I would like in rivers, so I really haven't given it a good experimental try in the rivers. But in lakes, it works a treat. You know, in the the Ballarat lakes, the Central Highland lakes, all of those lakes in the country regional areas which we can't get to. So we need to tie this fly and have it in our boxes. Now what does it represent? Well, it represents probably a lot of different things. I personally believe it's an attractor fly. So it's the flashing and the pulsation of the fly that attracts it to it. A lot of people claim that an olive green woolly bugger looks like a leech in the water. Now, I could see that being a case. Also, bait fish, minnows. So there can be a sort of representation there of the natural food that trout do eat. All right, so that's the woolly bugger. Let's know what materials I need. We'll put the materials up right now. Now you can pause your computer and write down the materials that you'll need, and at your leisure, and you can pause it, you can do whatever you like. So they are the materials that we'll need. Alright, so let's start tying this fly. Now we will need a hook that is around about a size 10 or a size 8 long shank. Alright, and we need to thread the orange bead onto the actual hook. Right behind the eye of the hook is where the position we'll have it. And we take our 6/0 black thread, and now we will begin to tie that thread in this position, making sure that we tie it down nice and firmly, and then we'll cut the excess thread from there. And now advance down towards the eye of the hook, stopping when we get in line with the barb. Be careful not to trap the thread in. Make sure it's nice and clear. We angle out of it. That's the position that we need to be. Alright, now the first material we'll need to tie this fly and to tie the tail is a green Marabou. Alright, this is a great material. It really sparkles in the water and really stands out. It's incredible stuff. So we'll grab ourselves a small bunch. I'll cut that away. Now, the secret of this fly working well, in my opinion, is that the tail can either be short, so that it doesn't wrap around the bend of the hook, or medium, which will wrap around the bend of the hook, or long. So I like to have a long tail to avoid wrapping around the bend of the hook. It'll actually wave and perform better under the water if we tie it in a long length. The disadvantage of that is if the trout are very finicky, alright, the trout will nip at the tail, you'll strike and you'll miss. So that's the disadvantage of it, but I feel that the advantage is better than the disadvantage, because we can always trim up our fly if the trout are biting and nipping at the fly at the tail. So we tie that in at the middle of our length of Marabou there, just in that position. And then we'll bring all those fibres at the front to the back, grabbing all those fibres in one length, and then we will tie that down. Alright, now we need to cut that to length. Now, as I said, we want it to be longer than normal, so maybe 2.5 hook lengths is what we want. And so we want it around about there. Alright, that's pretty good. Now the next material we'll need is our Marabou feather. Alright, now the fibres on the Marabou is what's going to pulsate in the water, and we really want this to be too much, probably about a medium bunch. You can always add to it if need be. Alright, so there's our tail there. We need the tail to be the exact length of the Marabou, maybe even extending just a little bit out. Tie that in. And then we cut away the excess. The excess. Now what we can do now is we can tie that down, that lump of woolly bugger there at the body. We can tie that down. And what we do now is go back to the when we're in line with the barb, and we tie in our next material, which is copper wire. Now the copper wire needs to be not fine but not large either. It needs to be a medium length. Alright, so cut ourselves off a length, and then we will now tie that in. We'll tie that in the full length of the shank. Like so. Advance down to behind the eye or the bead, and then advance our way back again. Be careful with that point of the hook. Alright. Now we take our diamond bright in a dark olive. This is our dubbing material. We grab a small amount. You don't really need a real lot. Put some away for when you need to add to it. Now we use that lump as part of the body. We don't want to put in material over that lump because it'll be too big and it'll look, won't look good. So we just dub on this material, create a fine diameter. Then we can come not all the way back. We'll use that lump as the start of the body, as the finest diameter part. Then we'll advance that material up the hook shank, getting bigger in diameter as we go. Make sure it's nice and tight. We'll build that body up, getting a bigger diameter until we're right behind that bead. And geez, I've done that perfect. I've used all the material right up to the exact spot, and that's perfect. You can see how the body tapers. Tapers very small to very large right behind the bead. So we'll take our needle and we will prick out some of those fibres, because we want them to pulsate as well. We don't want them too tight, but we don't want it too loose either. Alright, that's good. Alright, now what we do is we take a cape like this. Right. Now this isn't a genetic cape, it's somewhere in between. It's like it's dyed olive green, and the feathers aren't of a quality that you would tie for a dry fly, but they're the perfect quality for a body hackle of a woolly bugger. So we take the right length and width of the feather, and it's a grizzle dyed olive green. Okay, so we judge that, and that's probably right about there. So we'll snip that off there. Then we'll tie it right behind the eye of the, or right behind the bead. Tie it down nice and tight. And then we take our scissors and we cut away that stem. There we go. If few more wraps just to make sure it's nice and tight. And because these are nice long feathers, which is what I want when I do actually tie flies, we can use it, don't have to use hackle pliers. So we grab the feather by the tip and then we advance it around. Then come with a gap down the hook shank. And then grab our copper wire and then we trap that in with the copper wire. And we work our way through those fibres, so we trap the least amount of fibres down. Weaving them through till we're right behind the bead. Drop that copper wire in. Then we can snip that copper wire away. And then we can snip that back hackle. Protruding there, snip that away. And then just get those fibres, bend them backwards. And then let's few wraps just behind the barb, get our whip finishing tool. And finish that nice and tight. And that's it. That's your woolly bugger. It's the best way to tie a woolly bugger with hackles and so forth, but you could change the colours. You could have a different coloured body, you could have a different coloured bead head, you could have a different coloured tail. Flasher boot could be all different. Red stands out in my mind as another material to try with a red bead, say, because red really attracts a lot of different fish, trout, and even if you were to tie saltwater flies, you know what I mean? Those additional colours could create something that's fantastic. But for trout, I find this variation works well for me, really does. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and let's hope we can get out fly fishing real soon. It's driving me crazy. I want to get out there. I want to catch some trout, I really do. So, and having this fly will help me catch those trout. So, until next time, this is Bruce Smith saying goodbye and see you next time.